Welcome to Rising Tide Startups, where we chat with startup founders and solopreneurs just like you from all over the globe. During our chat today, picture yourself starting your own startup journey. If our guests can do it, you can too. Every episode of Rising Tide Startups is sponsored by Podbrand Media. Let Podbrand create and host your company-branded podcast. Learn more at podbrandmedia.com. This is Kevin Pruitt, and it's a Rising Tide Startups episode. I have a special guest with me today, Gal Ko. Gal, thanks for joining us on Rising Tide.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for being here.
We had a little chance to talk before the big red record button here, and had some shared travel experiences that it really kind of took me back on times that I had actually been in Israel in the past. But Gal, if you and I met like at a networking event, a business networking event, how would you introduce yourself to me?
To you, well, Gal Ko, marketer since I was 14, not because I wanted, because I was needed. Had some difficulties with health inside my family. I needed to raise the bar and help and provide. So since then, I've been doing marketing. What I do now, I'm teaching marketing at Google and Reichman University. And I also help founders get to speak on podcasts to their desired audience.
Let's go back to what you just said right at the very end. It's because there are a lot of services out there that will get you, as a guest on a podcast, and it's really like a numbers game. They'll just throw 100 invites out there and hope somebody says yes. But it sounds like to me you have a little more targeted approach. That is a little more specific. So walk us through the process of what do you mean I'm going to get you on the podcast in front of your correct audience?
Look, in order to answer it through the whole thing, I would have to go back to those pains that I experienced with my founders, with the founders I worked with, because before I had matched founders with podcasters, I've been doing product marketing for B2B tech companies and small to big startups. But all of them has felt exhausted around creating content, around promoting themselves, around, getting leads, getting demos done. And with that, while working with them, I felt like it is my obligation to find some way to help them. And, it has to be cost effective, and it has to be a perfect content generation system. So they won't feel like they're on the content hamster wheel, trying to post every day, and it all turns out vanilla because they use AI and they don't really have they don't connect the dots. So I've decided to hop on this adventure, and I will tell you, yeah, sure, there are a lot of services, there are a lot of ways to do it. But I think I actually found the right way to do it, which is pretty human. It's not that automated. Obviously, we can automate this stuff up. But, eventually speaking, we need to reach out in a certain way to get a yes, and we need to research before we reach out, research the show the right way so you'll have the right fit, because not every podcast is the right fit for you.
No, absolutely. And it is interesting. I mean, there's a famous article out there that talks about, the Kevin Kelly wrote about, with 1,000 true fans, you can make $100,000 a year or whatever. If you just get in front of the right people, it's not the quantity, but more the quality, of your audience. So do you also help people, even like taking a step back, do you help them determine who their ideal client is to begin with?
So we even start before that, because, most people, they actually have some fear of going on podcasts. It's something that they probably feel like podcasts are not built for them because they don't have the 50K followers. They don't have that Forbes 30 under 30 certificate right here. And so usually people are actually, blocking themselves from becoming the industry voice. So the first thing I would say that, look, all you have to have is a story, a lesson, transformation to share with your audience, a message that helps your people, your clients. And so that's the first thing that you have to have. The other thing is you have to show up as a good guest. And you do it even before you pitch, before you reach out. You actually prepare some sort of a media kit to serve you better when you do this sort of outreach, to research a bit more about who is your ICP. Are they the right ones? Is it a certain role that you're trying to navigate to their ears? Is it a specific industry, for example? Because there are so many podcasts and so many industries nowadays. Is it a client from a certain region? Only from the US, for example. Most of the startups I work with are trying to get inside the ears of their, US audience. And I would say, the pain points that you touch. So I would say also the pain points that you touch in your talk, in your topics, that is also something to use to research, because you can research what topics people have spoken about
Yeah.
on several podcasts. Yeah.
And I mean, podcasters, they do series from time to time, specific topics and things like that. And if your timing is good, like, you know, I have seasons on my podcast, and one season I was only talking to people from Australia or New Zealand. One season I was only talking to people that were running like virtual assistant agencies. One season I'm only talking about people that have started, say, in the last 12 months, that type of thing. So, um, if you would have reached out during that time that's what I was looking for, then you're almost guaranteed a spot on the podcast. If you
Yeah.
didn't fit the criterion, you're wasting your time, because that's not who I'm looking for right now. So I think you're exactly right. It matters, what the focus of the podcast is, and that maybe even that series that they're doing at the time. So
Yeah, obviously, because a podcaster has their own guarantee to their audience. You'll listen to me for blabbing for 20 minutes, and you'll learn something about marketing, about startups. Each podcaster host has their own guarantee, and they have to, walk the talk.
exactly.
So, yeah.
No doubt about it. Tell me, what other services do you provide, under your banner? I know you do marketing, but is it only through podcast guesting that you're doing marketing, or is it also include the follow-up after that? How do you share that through social media, etc.? Walk us through kind of the process.
Okay, so the process, I really systemized it because I'm a one-man show. I actually hired my first employee like 6 months ago, but she's doing nothing besides emails.
Hmm.
So I really tried to simple it down. So, for example, when I do reach out, I have a framework that I use, which also I teach how to use it. It's called the REACH framework. So the first R is for research the show. That
Hmm.
is something that you have to do. Obviously, you want to avoid, wasting time and going on their own shows. That's just embarrassing.
Yeah.
And the E stands for extract a personal win from a recent episode. So that is one thing that you would love to mention while connecting with the host. And A is align your topic with your audience. C stands for connect with warmth and proof. So you should do it over LinkedIn, because I would say that is a platform that get to show what your accomplishments are in terms of professional accomplishments. So it is way easier to connect there rather than email. Most emails reach out in the spam folder. So
Yeah.
yeah. And age, the last one is handle follow-ups. So I actually do 2 follow-ups every 4 days after I send a connection with a certain show. And that is what I do for my clients. And that is also what I teach at the
Hmm.
course that I teach people.
Have you gotten to the point that that your system is really kind of dialed in enough that you have a pretty high success rate?
Yeah, okay. So fine-tuning the system, that is something that is very ongoing. I mean, it could be the titles of email that I
Hmm.
send. So for example, just reaching out and saying, look, this is CEO of a big company and he looking to speak on your podcast. That's okay. But what if we try it and would mention something like, I loved your latest one.
Yep.
Thank you for that. I want to return a favor and let
Hmm.
me match you with this guy who is very interesting. And
Hmm.
you can see his media page and you can see that he's already been speaking on podcasts and he's high achiever and he speaks fluently. And, that is an easier yes, rather
Yeah.
than, just a cold outreach. Um, so that is for just one example of how I, redid it. But eventually, like this business, I actually redid the whole thing, like right in December. I've created a community about it that is now, it was December and now it holds over 350 people inside, founders and VCs and podcasters just matching, creating episodes together. And it's just free, just providing value. Um, so that is just one thing that I already modded. But I would say if I was a listener and if I could take only one thing from this episode with me, is go ahead and read Alex Hormozzi's $100 million models,
Hmm.
because what happened to me is I had this business for almost 1 year and I've did the math. I did the napkin math where, if I want to get to 1 million ARR, how many clients do I have to have? Um, and back then, just a second. And back then, when I didn't have the numbers, I didn't have the clients, it was around 273 clients I have to onboard in order to hit 1 million. And I was
Hmm.
like, okay, I have to restructure the whole thing. I was selling podcasts by the pound. It's like, do you want to speak on 5 podcasts? Okay, I'll get you on 5, just pay. And it was always with a guarantee that you love what you are going on. So it was very interesting because I had to go through so many ping pongs with podcast hosts and with clients. And eventually, just to hit 5 shows that they say yes to. So I've decided to remodel the whole thing. And then this book came out. I'll just hold it so people will know how it looks. But this book came through my email, like through my email and through my mail. And I just held it. I read the first chapter and I closed it. And I said, okay. I cannot continue reading without implementing each chapter on my business.
Hmm.
So I've decided to just follow along, implement all the systems, all the models that Alex Hormozzi, he's a great guy. I've been following him for years now and reading his books, and I think they really helped me. But implementing these same money models that he suggested there was the thing that changed everything. So yeah.
So now that's internally. So let me ask you about an external issue. Like if I'm a client and I'm working with you and you get me booked on podcasts and I'm very satisfied with the 5 or 10 or whatever guest appearances you've given me. How do you coach me now what? After the episode, yeah. Now what am I going to do with that?
I'm going to share some industry secrets now. Now, those are industry secrets, and it is actually the recipe for a pipeline that is flowing with clients and, a method that can help you get your first clients out of a podcast. And it's actually not even about the podcast itself. It's not about how you talk on the podcast. It's about, once we stop recording, so podcasters are very friendly. They are networking people. They are connectors.
Hmm.
That's what they do. They love speaking with people. They love connecting people. So once you turn off the record and you just say, okay, it was a great podcast. I really enjoyed being on your show. And I think that we have more to speak about. Obviously, it's been 20, 30 minutes now of recording, but I would love to know how I can help you and how you can help me. So let's book a meeting. What do you say about maybe next week, the other
Mm.
week after that? But the thing is, you have to do bam fam, book a meeting, form a meeting. And with that, once you close this meeting and once you hop on this call, before that, you go over the list of guests on his show and you see if there are any guests particularly that are the right fit for you. Maybe an introduction would serve you with this sort of guest, past guest. And this is just, it is money on the floor
Yep.
because it's just connecting people. And obviously, everyone would love to help anyone. I think that this is, this is the way I think. This is the way I operate. I think I see everything as a win-win. So that is a no-brainer method of creating pipeline through podcasting, and it's not even related to the content that you generated. So it's mind-blowing, and most people don't know it.
I have I've been in this space for quite a while and have talked to a lot of people that are doing marketing through podcasting, doing, outreach, doing lead generation, etc. I've never had anybody ask me to connect them with a previous guest, and we've had 350 previous guests. So that's really an interesting approach, and I like that because you're exactly right. I mean, to me, if you ask me, if you go back and say, okay, episode 47 had this person on we're in similar spaces. I would love for you to connect me with that person, and what can I do for you, to kind of help you out as well. I would do that happily, because number one, it gives me a chance to reach back out to episode number 47 again, too. So it's a win-win. You're exactly right.
Yeah, indeed. And I think that it is a secret. And now I shared it with your audience. So yeah.
We could just hit stop right now, and we've already increased the value of the listenership here. But let's kind of turn the page a little bit more and specifically talk about, like, how do you work with people on an ongoing basis? I mean, most people are not going to say, hey, I'm going to do this for 5 or 10 years. I'm going to speak on, 12 podcasts a year. I'm going to continue to pay you like a retainer type thing. But there has to be some, like, what's the next step after the podcast guesting? Then what?
Then comes the repurposing. So the whole purpose of having this sort of meetings, this sort of recordings, this sort of podcast episodes is obviously to use it, right?
Yeah.
So it's not here only to serve us as a long form, because what we can do nowadays with long form, and it's just a click or two with AI now, is to toss it into Gemini, Opus Clip, all of those apps that can, just take a link and repurpose it. So actually, there is a rule stated by Google that is very, very like a hit word now in the marketing field. So it goes by this. It's the 7-11-4 rule. So what Google stated, and it is very unique, is that in order to purchase from you, clients have to go through 7 hours of engagement with your brand. And I'm talking about cumulative time of potential customer spends with your brand. So it could be consuming blogs,
Hmm.
podcasts, newsletter, etc. But across 11 touch points. So those are individual interactions, such as opening an email, liking a post, visiting web page, reading a blog, watching a video. And it has to be across 4 different locations or platforms. So YouTube, LinkedIn, email, Spotify, wherever, physical store even. So it's 7 hours of engagement, 11 touch points, and 4 platforms. That's what clients has to go through to buy from you. So podcast guessing Podcast in general is not only there to serve us for one piece of content, one long form content. It actually shortcuts the whole rule stated by Google. So one podcast is a system. It can serve as a system to, we can turn it into an SEO blog post that will serve us to rank higher in the search engine optimization. But without that, nowadays everyone is talking about AEO, Ask Engine Optimization. And I would say that also, putting a podcast on YouTube is also researchable by Gen AI tools. So it's also AEO. It's not just SEO. And once you repurpose it, you can create a newsletter that will go along to your audience. And you can make posts on LinkedIn. You can repurpose it on social platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, where the cost per acquisition is lower rather than LinkedIn, because to get a demo done on LinkedIn from a client, it will cost you around $800 nowadays. But if you take this short and you promote it elsewhere and you do remarketing, eventually you'll get the same demo done for less expensive. So yeah.
Yeah, I love your approach. I love the thought process you put into this. I, really it's from start to finish. It's making sure that the guest is prepared. They've done their homework beforehand, make sure that the episode is worthwhile, make sure the immediate the follow-up is in place and done well. And then the longer form, follow-up, or as you said, repurposing and lead generation and generating sales through the content itself. So it's really the full cycle, that you've described there. And now here's a quick word from one of our new sponsors on Rising Tide Startups. Every episode of Rising Tide Startups is sponsored by Podbrand Media. So you started your own company or branded podcast, and now it's fading. Let Podbrand give it new life. Check out podbrandmedia.com to learn more. Is there some magic sauce that we haven't talked about that is somewhere intermingled in here that you're thinking, you know what, this little thing, this little tweak is something that I learned and has been so game changing for the whole process?
I think that, obviously people always searching for the secrets, for the shortcuts, for those kind of things. But, I think that when we're speaking about podcasting, I think that this tool is here to serve us and to help us show our human side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the right medium for us to be humans. And I would say that, doing things on the human side rather than the automation side, connecting with people, having these small talks, bringing in positivity, for example, that is what people are searching for at the moment. And I think that, there are no hacks. There is a long way, and it is a process. Just going on one podcast wouldn't solve all your problems, and you wouldn't become the most recognizable person in your industry from just one show. You have to go out there to practice how to speak on a podcast, to practice how to share your story, how to go through emotions with your listener. So it's an art. And there are no shortcuts for it. Just be human, be there. Yeah, that's it.
Be consistent. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. To talk to, even in your intro, you mentioned, you are teaching kind of in the university setting. Talk about that a little bit as we wrap up today. Are there anything that we haven't touched about, number one? And number two, I want you to really reach out to the audience here and say, okay, if this has resonated with you, this is how we can engage together. This is how we can, kind of put some things in practice, and you can do your own. I read Alex Hormozy's book, and now I've changed my whole process. So walk us through that. Where's the best place to contact you too?
So, look, everything I do now is around helping people become the voices of their industry. And the way I do it in several ways. I actually have 3 ways of doing it, because Alex Hormozi suggested the value ladder, that you can, help people in a certain way that is free, in a certain way that is DIY, and a certain way that is white gloves operations, I would say. So the first thing that I do is obviously the full service. We book you on the shows and you just talk. 3 shows a month. It's like 3 Zoom calls a month. That's all it takes from the founder side.
Yep.
And it is 3 guaranteed podcasts a month. And we go over 40 podcasts a year, and we repurpose it based on the subscription. And that's the full service. But the DIY challenge, it is where things are getting interesting, because we have a challenge. And people already from within our community has actually won the challenge. So it is speak on 3 podcasts in 30 days and win your money back. Because as I mentioned, it's about the value. And if you win, I win. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this is the way I see it. So people can just opt in, join the challenge. And it is all on our 3rd offer, which is the school community, which is totally free. I brought in some of the podcasts that I worked with, and I have so many influential CEOs and founders and marketing managers from places like Google, TikTok, Meta, Microsoft. It is insane where we got, and it's only been out there and operating since December. Now it's February. And we already reached over 350 people, and over 30 episodes we recorded already inside this community. Just by people staying active, introducing themselves, communicating with other people. It's very human. That's the way we do it. So yeah, I would encourage anyone who wants to speak on a podcast to join our school community. It is school.com with a K, school.com/Podstar. So yeah.
Well, make sure that after we get off the episode today, that you send me any links that you want me to include in the show notes. And I know our listeners would love to have those links, because I mean, it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to get started. And that is the only way that you're going to progress, is just to take that next step, and be consistent in your approach. But Gal, it's been really great to catch up with you today. It's been good to hear your story and kind of let you kind of spin a little bit, the ideas and the process that you go through and the why behind it. I mean, that to me, that's as important as the process itself, because it really adds credibility, to that process. But thank you again for just taking time today. Thank you for just spending time with us and just helping all boats rise in a rising tide. Gal, have a great weekend. We hope you heard some great takeaways and are now ready to take action yourself. As always, thank you for listening and helping all boats rise in a rising tide.